One. What's happening? Welcome to On the One. I'm your host, Cory Wong. We are here at John Field's Strawberrious Studios in Minneapolis, where we've recorded many a song. John mixes the majority of the music that I make. He's excellent. So we're here to dissect one of the mixes, talk about the production, recording, blah, blah, blah. With me is drummer Petar Janjic.
Janjic?
All the way from Serbia. That's how I heard him saying it.
When I say FaceTime, I say Petar Janjic.
Yes,
Siri
only knows. Yeah. Siri, call Petar Janjic.
Yeah, that's how you
call
FaceTime call with Petar Janjic.
Be careful. Do not disturb.
Yes. Do not disturb.
Oh.
Today's episode is brought to you by DistroKid. That is who I use to distribute my music. That's who distributed the Paisley Park Session. That's the name of the album. Check it out. The tune is Assassin. As you can see here from the Pro Tools, it's take two. Yes, we did 2 takes of this, and the second one was it. We're going to get some secrets on this episode because...
It's the legend.
Killing mixes. Actually, you know what's funny is when people comment on the videos about the mixes, there was one particular comment. Somebody said, love the song, but the alto sax needs EQ. And John responded to the person, well, I guess we'll hire you next time to mix.
I mean, you gotta slap back every once in a while, don't you?
All the time, dude.
No.
The best part of you.
I have a fairly strict DNE. Do not engage.
I choose my words occasionally and just throw them back at just people.
I respect it. That was a good one because it was a bad enough comment and a perfect response to it. Because I felt the same way. Like, really? Alto sax needs EQ? That's the one thing you're pointing out? This album is my favorite mixes that you've done.
Something about that session, as a drummer, I've never heard drums sound so freaking good.
Have anything to do with Paisley Park, Chanhassen, anything like that? Or
I mean,
the aura?
The aura of the place.
Insane.
And what most cats would gripe about is the fact that we were all live in the same room. Except for my guitar amps were in the guitar amp booth, and the B3, just the Leslie, was in the other room. Most people would have done drums in their own separate room. Everybody kind of... Like, we literally had a bass amp in the room with us, right next to the saxophones. And, so to me, it's just, if you capture a great performance live in the room,
true,
get a good mix. Engineered well and a great studio. John did that. I used to look over John's shoulder thinking, ooh, what plugins are you using? What do I got to buy? What this? Then I learned a little thing I like to call crediting the wand, not the wizard. A lot of people think, if I get this plugin, I'm going to be able to mix this way. You're going to see the plugins that get used. What you would be doing is giving more credit to the wand than the wizard. Represented by a nice beard here. What we got here is drums. And then next up in the session is percussion. Next up in the session is bass, guitar amp, which actually in this case, it's 2 deluxe reverbs in stereo, just hard pan left and right. B3 top and bottom, stereo top, mono bottom. And then the 6 horns. We're using those Shure clip-ons, which, dude, those things sound dope.
Way better than just mics on stands. For some reason.
Yeah, they're definitely better than mics on stands. I think because it's always the same proximity to the horn. But also, I don't know, man. They sound, in some cases, and in some horns especially, it sounds better than $6,000 mics. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely happy with them.
And they actually isolate really well. So let's start with the drums. Start right at the A section. You can hear the bleed.
I mean, listen to that.
Trigger warning! We got addictive trigger on the kick and the snare. Why do you use triggers?
They add impact and you can actually EQ them, and they don't really affect the rest of the kit. If you do the same drastic moves to a regular snare drum or a regular kick drum, you know, if you add a lot of treble or a lot of high end or something, all of a sudden there's hi-hats are flying in there.
Yeah.
So it's like you can just kind of sculpt, and it's just adding underneath. It's not a huge,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like we're turning off the regular mics.
Yeah.
We're just adding it in as a little bit of a...
little massage. Just
Yeah.
a little massage therapy.
And nowadays, triggers are very musical the way that they respond. I mean, we're just copying over the exact kick drum track, and the trigger is picking up the dynamics, the velocity.
Yeah, and many times they're wrong, actually, and you have to go in and fix them, and sometimes you can't even use them. Like with this maniac, with his like crazy ghost note thing, sometimes it can't even pick that up, and sometimes, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've turned it off on some songs where it's like, it just can't even track it, because there's literally thousands of snare drums in a song, and you either that or you'd have to go through and move
one
every
one.
single one, and then there's the whole velocity issue of like quiet to loud.
Yeah.
But most of the time it follows pretty well in between this addictive trigger and the slate, which we kind of half and half it. I find that the addictive just happens to respond to velocity a lot better.
100%.
Like it gets the little stuff.
Yeah. Now, if we look at the toms, you'll see one thing that I learned from Jon. He and I do it a little bit differently, but the principle is the same. It's strip silence from the toms. So the tom mics, you'll see in here that basically what I learned to do from Jon is mute all the toms. Tom 1, 2, and 3, mute them, go through and find where the toms get hit, tab to transient, and then open up the tom mics only when the toms get hit, which works a little bit better than gating because it's a little bit clearer and you know exactly what's happening. One thing that Jon, I'm curious, because you do all the toms. If you open up one tom, you open them up, all of them.
Most of the time, there's a guy that taught me that. His name is Paul Hager.
Yeah.
Back in Los Angeles, and he used to do it. He said, just do all of them together. For some reason, when all the mics open at the same time, even if you're not hitting tom 2, but 1 and 3 are being hit, something about the phasing or the general picture, you want them always to be the same.
Yeah.
So if you were to just use the floor tom mic and mute the others, it would work. It would just be, I don't know, there's an ambience that happens, I guess, when all 3 are open.
It feels a little more natural.
And it's literally for 1 second.
Yeah.
It is for 1 second.
So, yeah, on its own, what you then hear is this. I'll just solo these toms.
Well, there's a second.
So it sounds kind of whack on its own, but in the context and it's great. And it kind of cleans up the sound of the drums.
Well, they are right next to the cymbals, remember? So it's just like every crash he hits just gets hugely amplified by those open tom mics. So you got to get rid of them.
Yeah. The other thing that we're noticing here is there is not a ton of plugins on these drums. A lot of people that I've seen mix 6, 7 plugins on each thing. Metric halo, channel strip, so a little bit of a gate on the natural kick, tiny bit of compression and EQ, comp sidechain, okay. The snare has adding some top end, CLA mix hub. What are you doing there?
That's just a little, you can see a little bottom at 100, a little top at 8.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe a tiny bit of a roll off at, I mean, that's probably not doing anything, at 20-ish.
Yeah.
There's a gate on, or no, that's a Q on, is that hat? No.
Snare bottom.
Snare bottom.
What's your theory on rolling off bottom end in general? Because one of the things I learned in, the school of YouTube mixing is you throw a high pass on
I never do that. I just,
You just only when it feels necessary.
Yeah, if I need to roll off the bottom, but it's like, no.
Okay. Great. I like that. Hi-hat rolling off more.
Yeah, we just don't want all that chunk down there.
Tom's kind of standard, let some
kind of doing nothing. I think you like the deader sound.
Yeah.
On this one, you wanted a little less high end, and like the drums themselves are kind of just have a high end to them, so
Yeah.
you got to cut some of that off.
And you put the toms in their own bus.
And funny, now we're adding back. We're adding back a little treble and a little bit. Yeah, so there you go. Go figure. Put back what you took out.
Maybe we should have done that.
Now then you put all the drums then go into a drums crunch.
Yep.
And then they go into a dry drum.
Yeah, you got to have both. Just if you're gonna, everyone likes to parallel compress, and you just got to have the dry in there too. That's just my opinion. It immediately brings back the life.
Yeah.
And then all that goes through one more subgroup, which just has like a little limiter on it, and see how much red comes on when you hit play. It's just if you jack that threshold down, you could turn up those drums a ton. But it just literally takes the peaks off so that you don't have overs
Yeah.
on the
So
master
nothing.
bus.
Yeah. Totally.
But it's not doing that much.
Yeah. All right. Percussion. Nêgah Santos, incredible percussion player, crushing this stuff live. We had 2 congas, bongos, mono, percussion overhead, and then we had the timbale bells that just weren't used on this song, so we muted that track. Let's see what's going on.
Lead.
So let's do that with the drums. A lot of energy.
Cutting up high end. You can see the high end is getting cut, and I think on the master of the percussion, I think you got a Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to put the Wolf comp on buses.
Yep. Don't know what that lo-fi does, but we love it.
I think it tames a little bit.
High end.
Yeah, so
But-
here we go. Let's see exactly what the lo-fi does.
Hard to tell on this. You need some some treble.
To me, it sounds like it pulls out a little bit of 12K and up, ish, right?
Agreed. But not a best example to show.
Yeah. It would be more obvious in
The drums.
overheads. Or, Moving down the line, we got the one and only Sonny T. So what's going on in the bass? Because
You guys be ready for this. This is magic.
Sonny's bass, first off,
That's
has
the thing.
frequencies that other basses just don't. What's going on?
It's that British Warwick deal.
Wait, it's British? Isn't it German?
I thought it was British.
It's German.
You know, like build your own
there's
custom.
something about it. Sonny's bass. I mean, if you look up close,
German.
All right.
German. All right.
But British cats use them.
Yeah, I don't know. So, but I think Sonny got his through when he was playing with Prince, that white bass,
Yeah.
and he's been using it ever since. I asked him once, what did you play before? He's like, Fender Jazz. Is that true? Have you ever seen him before a picture?
I haven't
before
seen
that?
a lot of old videos.
Yeah.
He told me he was playing a J bass growing up.
Yeah.
Wow. But then remember the era with Prince? He had that thing with the 10,000 bass that he dropped and broke the handle.
Oh yeah,
Oh, you mean the
the one with the big.
So he was playing that, and it was Prince's bass, and Sonny after the game just kind of like dropped it, and the handle broke, and Prince was like, "Sonny, that was a $12,000 bass." Like he goes, "Whoops." He broke his bass, and then he switched to the Warwick after that.
Yeah, but this white Warwick is just
the Dolphin.
It's definitely got some wounds.
I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. I
Well, it does in certain contexts. The top end is pretty.
Yeah. And then the other thing is he
And that's
uses
what we
those
have.
those little strings.
Yeah, tiny strings. Sonny's strings are extra lights. They're insanely light.
Right. But when you play it, it doesn't feel that way. It does. It's not like a floppy.
Yeah, it's not super floppy. They're the lightest bass strings I have ever felt.
But it gets you that snap, and also it's just there's some EQ on that particular bass. There's like a concentric bass and treble
Sure.
that add
Yeah.
It's just
otherworldly
so unique, man. His
frequencies.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's it's wild bass tone. But direct doesn't matter which DI you use. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. Well, okay, DBX 160. I know
It's fast.
Stratton uses this on Darts bass a lot. But I just don't really know what settings or why to use this. Like, what's What is it about the DBX 160?
It's quick. It's a VCA, and it's just quick, and there's no choice for attack and release, and it just was always like in the 70s and 80s, kind of like the go-to kick, snare, and bass. And I have 2 of them up there, or 3 of them. Those are like the larger versions, but
yeah.
So it's fast, and it lets go fast. So it's not gonna like hang, and when you hit a bass note, it's not gonna be like boo, like a Fairchild,
yeah.
like a Beatles kind of sound. It's more like get. So it's great for these snappy bass tones. You can see it.
Yeah, let's go to this bass breakdown. I mean, this is only Sonny T can play like this. That's so dope! That's...
Go back. I did that fill.
Yeah, hold on. Let's do that.
think-
Let's do the drums and bass right there. Drums and bass. I mean that. That's the Sonny
That's the
ism.
signature.
Yeah.
But like when you listen to it by itself, it's like a bunch of like, what is going on?
That's the thing about Sonny's. A lot of times, his parts feel on their own, just like, what? But then you put them in the context of the thing, and it's just insane. But it's just energy. It doesn't even matter that there's weird notes. All right, we should listen to the guitar. I normally just go DI, and we use the Archetype plugin. Why did we for this?
This was the first session, I believe, with the Cory Wong Fender guitars. Am I wrong?
Well, aside
Or
from
you did the Fender
videos.
Well, okay, and then you had just gotten this pair of twin
Deluxe
fresh
reverbs.
deluxes.
Yeah.
And you brought them out, and I was like, why are we using amps? Because we never did before. You always would use Kemper or some other DI.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I think what it was because of our monitoring situation, it was easier to use the amps.
Prince has this cool walk-through ISO booth that's just pretty small that was perfect because we could just fit the 2 of them in there. But it was also a stereo rig.
Yes.
2 identical deluxe
Reverbs, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think we just used 57s.
57s.
Yeah.
57s.
And we covered the amps with my guitar cases.
And we did not take a DI, which we normally would, but I don't think we had the channels to do both, and it turned out sounding awesome.
Yeah. I will say there's certain songs where I kind of wish the amps were quieter to be a little cleaner. Like on Meditation, it sounds great.
Yeah, and they were also at like 1.
Yeah, I know.
But
that's why I am a solid state
they
amps
were
guy.
yeah.
See what now?
I'm a solid state amps guy.
Yeah.
Because I like it clean as...
Yeah.
But here's what it sounded like.
Sounds pretty dope though. It's pretty cool.
I still wish it was cleaner.
I mean,
So you get a little bit on that little fizzy
there
on the
is a little,
top.
but it's yeah.
I mean, it's dope. Most people like that. That's like what people want. But I want the rounder top end, not the fizzy top end.
Right.
Fair enough.
It just doesn't matter. I mean,
And do we even have a plug-in on that doing anything?
we have the CLA mix hub.
See that red
What's
mic
going
tree?
on?
Is that turning up a little? Yeah, it's
3.
basically just jacking up the mic, the line. Actually, doing exactly what you hate, making it dirtier.
Huh?
There you go.
Dun, dun.
2 dB. It's not much.
Yeah. Pull a little bit of low end up. I've been using the Pro Q3. Basically, this is the only EQ that I use now. Not because FabFilter's paying me to say it, because it literally is, to me, the most versatile EQ that I've used. And I like this sort of thing where I can also do a dynamic EQ, where I can make it dynamic and not take out a bunch of low end when it doesn't need to be taken out.
Just
And
when
then,
something pops into it.
yeah.
But also, I love seeing that graphic I like seeing the EQ, like the graphical representation of the sound coming underneath it. Like
Yeah.
that's great.
You were one of the first people to really teach me mix with your ears, not with your eyes, of course. But so I remember, you know, it's just like move the knob until it sounds good. It's like, yeah, but isn't that too much? It's like, what do your ears say? Like, no. And then you look at things like, oh, well, the Bobby Owsinski or whatever book told me that I shouldn't do this because it was going to be too much. But my ears are telling me to just do this. So after I learned that, now I appreciate the visual.
Yeah.
Because I know to
Well,
follow
sometimes
my
you
ears.
just see a big chunk of like 400 and you're like, ah. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing that's poking it.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's going through a Wolf comp.
Of course.
Just a little bit.
The magical 14%.
I'm normally a 10 and 10 guy, but I guess we went 14-12 on here. Dude, you know what we should be doing? 16-12, dude. Sometimes I use the Valhalla room. We turned it off because I like that sucker dry as a bone, too. All right, let's move on to the B3. At Paisley Park, Studio A, there's 2 ISO rooms. There's the drum ISO room,
Yep, and there's
which
a
they
con-
call the wood room.
Yep.
And then the tile room.
Stone?
Stone room.
Stone
Oh, yeah,
room,
yeah.
yeah.
Or stone, whatever.
I'm not sure which, but it's
Concrete
definitely
stone?
like wet.
Yeah, and that's where the big grand piano is, which we didn't use. But the
But yeah,
B3 was, or the
yeah.
Leslie was in there.
And we actually we used Paisley mics. I believe we used like nice U67s or something nice
Okay.
on those. But they leak. And you can hear the drums kind of coming through the we had to crack the door.
Oh yeah, we had to leave the door cracked for the cables to go
some
through.
wires or something going. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear what's going on. You can see what kind of bleed we're dealing with.
Kevin?
Is that a flat 7 chord? Nice. KG.
KG.
Killing.
Not
Killing.
much going on with that tone. Just, you know, I think there's a little compression on it, and that's it.
So B3 has, let's look. B3 high, so stereo pair, dropping out some of the low. The low is dropping out some high.
Yeah, that's just doing basically nothing.
Just kind of
And of course,
a little bit of Wolf comp, and a little bit of Valhalla room. So let's see what the room is actually doing. So here's without the room.
very little.
Very little.
Very.
It kind of matches what the other instruments kind of have on.
Yeah, because they're
it
all
was in a
together.
different room.
Yeah.
But honestly, very negligible.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the horns. The horns are normally something, because there's 6 live mics right next to each other, you would expect a ton of bleed. And although they have some bleed, the way that we're kind of negotiating that
There's
is,
the toms.
yeah, we're muting when they're not playing, typically. Sometimes, like, I don't know, did we get lazy in here? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just
Whatever. It's not enough that, like, I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. Like, because you'll hear that these microphones actually, there's not a ton of bleed considering what they are.
right.
Serious the horns.
Here's just the horns. Sounds dope. I mean, that is hard
Oh yeah.
to be that tight in the same room, because you gotta play that together. You gotta play that tight.
Michael Nelson, dude.
Like,
Everyone.
yeah, the arrangements are
Everyone.
sick. This tune originally was a Fearless Flyers jam on the last album, Tailwinds. Well, I guess the last studio album, Tailwinds, which was written for. So I wrote this with Michael Nelson. 3 saxophones was the entire thing. And now we just kind of changed the arrangement to make it work for the 6 horns, which actually opened up a lot of what was possible in the section because everything could be a little bit more powerful in the arrangement. Voicings could spread open more. The saxes can just focus on the line, and the brass could kind of play those counter stabs and that sort of thing.
And we put a little our own twist on the rhythm section.
In the B section, especially, we kind of put the Prince
walking walk down, but it's also because of the horns are just like it's such an epic horn moment. Not what Nate and Joe did. It's still amazing for the 3 set. It works so well for that.
Yeah.
Well, this one works so great.
It drives a little more. More. Yeah. But with the more instruments and with percussion, there's just a lot more dynamic arc we can take. So our bigs can be bigger and our smalls can be smaller even, if we want. We did this one. The majority of the songs that we did were to click.
Yeah. Except I had to...
You had to turn the click off for this one because we speed up.
One hand snuck in there just to turn it out so we could speed up.
Remind me, what was going on? Because the click, we're using a Tama rhythm watch, and then we tried using the Logic click. We tried using the Ableton click.
We had to use the Tama.
You're saying we ended up using the Tama battery thing?
Yeah. The battery thing.
And that worked.
That worked. I think the Tama did work.
Yep.
Really?
I think that's why we ended up using the Tama. I remember the horns were like, oh man, it's this certain pitch. Can you change the pitch of it?
Oh yeah, the horns didn't like the pitch of the Logic click.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Huh? It's not.
There was something weird with the clicks though, where they weren't matching.
I feel like it'd be the Tama that was the weird one.
I know. I would have thought so too.
It's not like the horns even had the click in their ears.
Of course not. Never. Why would they need that?
Yeah. Why would they need that?
We won't get into that.
They're not even here to defend themselves.
I know, they can't defend themselves. Hey, the horns time were very great.
It's insane. They're incredible. Are you kidding me?
Everybody's time feel is different. So it's kind of one of those things where if the horns are going to use much click, they all kind of have to follow the same amount.
Yeah.
Because one horn player can't be one thing and then the others kind of feeling things are different. They have to feel it the same way because the horn section is one instrument. Although it might be 6 individuals, they together are one instrument.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and with that in mind, when you close mic them with these little mics, they start sounding weird, or they don't gel together, and that's why we do some tricks. I think don't we have like a reverb on the group?
Well,
like
let's take a look what we have going on the. Okay, trumpet, little bit of EQ. I mean, really, the EQ is just to kind of de-harsh anything, add a little body to the trombone here. So I typically do the brass in a brass bus, the winds in a winds bus, and then put them all into an all horns
and you're
bus.
Slightly 1176ing them to kind of gel the 3 together.
Yes. So the brass bus has a little bit of its own 1176 with a plate. Saxes.
And then all that groups together.
Yeah, so the saxes then go into a similar situation. They have their own 1176 and a plate. Both of those buses get into an all horns bus. This is the most worthless EQ we've ever done.
No, that's really doing something big. I can see.
10 hertz?
Yeah, you got to cut that off.
Got to cut the 10 hertz out of the trombone.
Know who's going to be listening with like the subwoofer? And then, but one more.
One more 1176.
Because, it helps.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We got to take a look at the sax solos.
Sure.
These solos are insane. I remember thinking when we played this take, like, you came in on what note, Barbash? And like, that is amazing. You were hearing it too,
and you were like, Barbash.
Yep.
Yeah.
What? That is not where I would have gone. And I mean that in the best way possible. This is insane.
Triplet thing he does. Lampley's behind her. Lampley's losing her. Oh my God! And then the animal.
A classic Kenny. You gotta follow. This is Jazz School 202. The guy's last line, he comes in, repeats the line, and starts his own thing.
And then it goes all animal. I turned the click off here.
Yeah. So that's all the instruments. That's everything that's happening. Mix-wise, this is not a ton of plugins on the individual channels. So to me, I'm seeing the main principles I'm seeing are subtractive EQ to de-harsh things, de-clutter things, compression to kind of control any of the pokies. And then as far as the space goes, just make sure everything feels like it's in the same space. So we had, a little bit of verb on the horns to kind of give them a space.
Short verbs.
Yeah.
No long.
And then it really just comes to having good taste in volume levels and panning placement.
It's the wizard, dude.
No, it's just you guys are the wizard.
I mean,
It's a pretty good band, It's,
yeah. The band is slamming. I thank you. I appreciate that. But it's like, these levels are all over the place. That's one thing we're not talking about. We're not talking about, why you choose a certain amount of hi-hat or overhead and why you place them a certain way, other than to just make it feel like the natural environment that the kit is in with enhanced low end on the kick, really, and impact on the kick and snare.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you really like the super dry
my
tones.
preference. Yeah.
So we don't even take room mics.
Exactly.
A lot of times when you do a live recording like this, you'll get like a pair of room mics on the stage or somewhere out, and then mix those in. But no,
The horns.
that's part of like why you can get it like this close.
Yeah. Which is always my preference. For whatever reason, I like that stuff.
Even when we do studio recordings, you still you want it like right in your face. So
Then the thing that we need to consider is the master bus. This is a little bit of an interesting place where there's actually a lot going on out of principle. But actually it feels a lot like historically like console mixing, where you have a master on a console and just kind of like what a console does to the sound, what a tape machine does to the sound. We have a lot of that stuff happening here. So I'll pull all this stuff off the master bus. Let's just turn the master bus off. And then as I turn things on, we'll kind of hear what they're doing. Trim. So the trim plugin is doing nothing. Tone control,
nothing.
literally doing nothing.
I think that thing does. You see the top?
Yeah.
Something's happening there.
Play it.
But it's air. That's the only thing.
Yeah, master air, but I don't think the...
Yeah, I don't know. That thing's a voodoo type plugin. So.
Oh, yeah. It's doing a little something. Oh, come on. Give me 20. 19, 21. Whatever. Bax mix.
Basically nothing. Little, a
adds
little treble, little bass.
tiny bit of treble, tiny bit of bass.
Play it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, just a little. We can hear
Yeah.
it.
Pretty hard to tell what's going on. Okay, now we're hearing something. CLA mix down.
Yeah, that does a little thing. Has a little curve to it.
Is this adding treble and...
Are those at 0?
Yeah,
I
these
think
are...
even at 0, they do a little sculpt.
And then the glue.
Just a little bit of more compression.
Tiny bit more compression. What's this thing? I don't have this plugin.
That basically does nothing. Look at it.
Oh yeah, I see it doing tiniest amount. It's like not even doing a dB of compression. But it's doing something, right?
It's, I mean, so little.
Here's where we get a little bit of magic. What's that doing to you? What are you trying to do with this?
It puts some wow and flutter, actually.
Yeah, it does.
A little wow, a little flutter, a little dirt.
Yeah.
A little overload.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, change the input from peak to VU. Up there on the bottom, up, a little left. Yeah, up, up, right there. Bam. So, we're not pegging it.
Yeah.
I like peak mode because you see actually what's happening.
Yeah, it's giving it a little sauce. I don't really understand this plugin. It has multiple things going on. There is an expander, a compressor, and a limiter happening on this plugin.
Basically, none of them are doing anything except the comp.
You're doing too much. You're not doing anything.
I mean, bypass and you'll see the difference. It's a...
Oh, yeah.
Is it a little more multi-band, though?
Yeah, it's a little demudding, maybe.
Yeah.
What's that?
The wall.
That just turns it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it square waves the kicks and the snares a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's basically just getting it up to 0.
Yeah.
And all those together make a nice little sauce.
Sick. John?
That's the mix.
Dude.
That's the wizard.
I don't think that was that exciting, but, you know, if you guys like that kind of thing.
I mean, it's good because it's nice to see that you don't have to have a lot of stuff going on to have a really good mix. It's just the right frequency control, the right dynamic control, the right space control, and then the sense of control. He was gonna go into another some kind of monster reference. A Lars Ulrich quote. I was not even thinking about it until you looked at frequency control.
I think you control in advert.
Dynamic control.
I think you control by the rules you.
Spatial control. The sense of control over left and right.
You control all of this even when you're not here.
Volumes up and down.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, it's not that complicated when you just put it that way.
But still, it sounds...
But it's hard.
Yeah.
Mixing is hard.
And he's the best in the business. In my personal opinion.
I mean, just turn stuff up, turn stuff down, you know.
Well, I don't know about you, but I've been reassured in the fact that mixing is one of the easiest things on the planet to do.
Nothing.
Literally doing nothing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bax mix.
Basically nothing.
And anybody can do it, which is why there's only a handful of people that are really good at it. And John is one of those people.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
On the internet, Strawberrius.
Strawberrius.
At Instagram and the like.
Instagram and...
But you don't need to find me. It's, you know,
You want people to stay away from you? Thanks for hanging with us. Like I said at the beginning of this episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
Damn!
They're the ones who distribute my albums to the world. If you're the type of person who makes music and releases music, you use DistroKid too, don't you?
I do. I like it.
They take 0%.
0%!
That's why I like them the best.
Yes.
That's it. That's all. Thanks for hanging with us. Peace!